大家下午好，我是呱呱。好，这是一款需要靠卡牌来走位的游戏。那我们下午玩一下。现在是下午4:09了。我们就稍微看一下这是什么游戏吧。而且原本是要在上礼拜就先玩一下这个，但是因为卡到其他要玩的游戏，像大富翁10啊，还有那个麦块跟亲友玩，所以这个就延后到这个礼拜。好，那我们就来看一下是什么样的游戏。听说是猫猫走线要用卡牌，要用这种卡牌才。
Sorry about that. Just give that rewind button a tap, and we'll see if we can't start walking around things instead of into them.
知道返回。
If you ever find yourself in a pickle, just remember that you can take a step back and try something else.
这是在教学，对不对？这个是应该是教学。
Now, give these a whirl and see where they get you.
是要走到这个终点。哦，它这边有讲。啊，走错。这个先走，然后再走这个。一点亮，可是这样不够可以转。
There you go. Remember, Theo, you can look around at any time.
它可以转。
What's that just there? Maybe you should give it a peek.
它的游戏其实还不错啊，就是需要靠卡牌走线，然后还可以调查。
I wonder what that's doing sitting around here. Maybe you should keep your eyes open for other interesting things. You never know what you'll find. Well, we're done here. Go on, leap into your family's arms. Lauren and Nathaniel are waiting.
他就是最后一定会走到就对了。可是正式开始应该是随机抽卡牌，不知道会不会走得到啊？对。啊，刚刚那个应该才是封面，对不对？ Wake up！ 他们家里有人吵架，他的脚好像固定视角，就是不能调高低，只能左右走。
Our hero Theo felt that if he was to be kept awake, he deserved to know why.
Kept awake， 要走2个还是走1个？等一下，我先看下，这附近有东西可以调查。 所以这些东西有时候要点一下的。这应该是走位看剧情吧，应该不会太难。哦，
Hearing the yelling from the kitchen, Theo wondered if
要去厨房了，对不对？先往不是，左边还是右边？ 右边，然后再往左边。
Despite his efforts, Theo couldn't simply stay here forever.
为什么还要有这个计时器？这是家里有人吵架，然后摔东西。
Perhaps things were a little more serious than he thought.
反正只要走到绿色那个格子，就到下一个剧情这样。
The kitchen seemed normal, except what was that he could see across the room?
倒地了。
He had to take a closer look.
先往前，往右，然后看一下这哇，这个怎么过？然后再往前，往左。
God.
再往前，往左。
Theo couldn't believe what he was seeing. His family, motionless on the floor. But that was it. No gun? Nothing at all. Was someone else here? As he turned away, Theo could only think about one thing. Someone was surely responsible for this, and he had to know who.
凶杀案吗？
Cautiously examining the hallway, Theo saw no signs of the killer. Instead, he found a path of destruction carved through strange machines before him.
是什么？红红的。这个吧。
The deeper into
哦，走到附近就可以看了，然后再往前。好像只有这样子的走位而已，而且变红色了，变红色不知道会发生什么事情。AC 2，等一下。
Although he could not shake the image of his departed owners, Theo suddenly found himself somewhere very different indeed. However, before he could appreciate his new surroundings, he found his attention drawn to the glowing hot wall of energy in front of him. Faced with something so clearly hazardous, he thought it might be wise to take a moment to think before diving headlong into oblivion. Oh, what a pleasant surprise! After his daring maneuver, Theo found that he was still alive. Unfortunately, clearly Theo didn't have time to mess about with a killer on the loose. Perhaps
有一个东西没有点，有一个东西没有点到，有一个东西忘记点了啊，算了。
Still somewhat tense from his previous trial, Theo was immensely relieved to find no deadly lasers when he emerged from the vent. On the other hand, he was instead faced with a functional, frantic, and quite soggy security robot. As he skirted by the distracted machine, Theo found himself eyeing the whole of the aquarium. Either someone was stalking the halls shooting at water features, or the security needed to work on their aim. Though the appeal of fresh fish was enticing, it was offset by the risk of an unexpected bath. Rather than contemplate such a terrible fate any further, Theo decided to make a quick exit.
机器人倒下着火，就是这边已经乱七八糟，小猫咪要逃出去。
Advancing cautiously, Theo was encouraged by the sight of another aquarium.
等一下，我看一下哦。
Although Theo could be easily distracted,
黄色的
he
灯
knew
是
when it was time to focus.
哇，黄色的灯是机器人的路径。
Tearing his attention away from the unattainable, Theo delicately stepped between the broken remains of some very expensive-looking showpieces. Despite his lack of any understanding of fine art, he was disgusted by the wanton destruction before him.
这个实在是有够火。等一下，这个一定有问题。他还要等他自己变换。
Having successfully weaved past the searching eyes of the guard, he was overjoyed to see that he could just follow the killer through a door, instead of crawling through the ventilation like a rodent.
啊，后面还有一个画像，不要按到。2之4。
Theo cast his eyes about the grandiose room, the impressive decor marred by the smoking wreckage of robotic guards. Clearly, someone with no respect for interior design had been this way. However, hanging over the remains of a reception desk, Theo spotted something that took his interest. Bright Paw Industries. Despite the damage, the underlying class of this Bright Paw establishment was clear. The placement of several large aquariums, brimming with exotic fish, was an inspired design choice that Theo could respect.
看有没有东西可以按。然后我等一下会被那个机器人撞到。我现在走到这一个，所以我是要往这边。
Theo crossed the room, breathing in the intoxicating fragrance of fish, while taking care to avoid the remaining hazards. As he did, his mind began to wander. Why was a place like this situated beneath his home? And more importantly, why had these fishy treats not been brought to his attention before?
他这个等一下一定会烧脑烧爆。
At first glance, it appeared that Theo had stumbled into a.
这机器人会会前后。我先等一下。看起来。
Theo padded behind the guard, pondering his discoveries. A hidden underground facility, robotic security, and now rooms filled with odd weapons. What on earth was this place? Looking back, Theo considered that it was perhaps unwise to leave such destructive toys lying around. On the other hand, there was no way someone would leave live explosives on display. Probably best to ignore it and hurry on.
2之6了。
Theo contemplated the ruin.
所以说要逃出去了，这个。
With the wall of death slowly advancing, Theo scrambled for a plan to slip by. There, across the room, a shattered glass wall offering a glimpse of escape.
等一下 ，What the hell？ 我这样过去就等死了。
Deftly avoiding glass with his paws, Theo found his eyes drawn to a large portrait on the wall. Was that Nathaniel? As he stood, he wondered, how much of all this was his master responsible for?
过了，黄色的。刚刚那边最后那边可能要等一下，这样。还好他这个不会太难了。稍微可以想一下就过。
Someone had clearly been rifling through the deliveries recently, though they didn't seem to have found what they were looking for. Obviously, the killer had been looting the facility, and it was unlikely that they planned to use volatile weaponry to spread peace and joy. Being a conscientious cat, Theo knew it fell to him to put a stop to the killer's nefarious activities.
就是我动完的出完牌的回合，要换那个场景的回合，然后再换我。
Finding himself inside a warehouse, the towering stacks of crates gave. Lost in daydreams of the killer being buried alive, Theo stepped blindly forwards onto a conveyor belt, promptly shuffling him away from his happy thoughts.
还有障碍物我会挡。
Perhaps it was unlikely that the killer would be ended by fallen cargo, but the belts leading to the dark and deadly machinery seemed to promise an untimely demise.
应该不会太难，目前。
Spotting a bundle under some nearby crates, it appeared Theo's wishes had been heard. However, he tempered his excitement until he could get a closer look.
箱子跑出来了。
Stepping over a broken belt with great care, he was disappointed to discover not a body, but simply several empty crates bearing the label High Explosive. The empty crates led Theo to conclude 3 things. The killer had found what they were looking for, they were definitely up to something, and Theo's work was not yet done. He moved on with the hope that the killer's loot would be enough to slow them down.
还蛮烧脑的这个。
Theo pondered the erratic crusade of the robots as they fired at non-existent threats. Perhaps the killer had just passed through?
等一下，这个是会移动的，所以我只要躲在这边是可以的。
The belt, unable to tell the difference between a cat and a crate, and lacking the desire to learn, moved him once again as it would any other box. As he headed for the door, Theo couldn't shake the feeling that the strange blue algae was creeping steadily across the wall behind him. Oh well,
哇，
it
那
was
这间工
probably
厂还蛮
harmless.
大的。
Whoever Theo was following had certainly spooked these poor robots who were all consumed by blind panic.
先走一格吧，这个。
As he carefully padded forwards, avoiding lasers, Theo noticed the most curious drawing etched into the wall. But why would a killer stop to doodle?
等一下，我想一下哦，这个要怎么过？
Theo couldn't stop thinking about the bizarre graffiti he kept seeing. It was unlikely the killer was taking the time for artistic creativity. Was someone else in the facility?
哇，没有了。哇，惨了惨了，这个怎么办？所以不能走一格嘛，所以只能走，要么就走这一格。啊，最后一定要留下两个都是往右边的，所以等一下哦，我想一下。所以是这样子才对。最后两边都只能流向同一边，偏左方前进。
As he stepped into the room, Theo found his racing mind halted by yet another drawing of a slightly more significant scale.
难道第一手要先等吗？先下来。
Theo tried his best to examine the etching, but found it devoid of artistic value.
然后我看一下，这样就没了。这样没了，这样子没了，这样。它好像只有5张而已。这两手都是直接出局，所以第一手除了等，第一手好像也不能等，因为第一手一等的话就等一下不能等。
As he began to move away, Theo couldn't help but wonder who would put so much effort into these acts of vandalism. Was it maybe some kind of poorly drawn calling card? Perhaps, he thought as he carried on, the murderer was simply an awful artist. Whatever it was, the mural failed to hold Theo's interest long enough for any meaning to be gleaned.
小猫居然要靠那个卡牌来走位，真的是走位游戏。
According to the booming sounds of heavy industry and the mass...
然后来看一下有没有可以点，哎，有哎，这可以点。这会移动吗？
Theo's eye was caught by something colourful and clearly out of place hanging from a rail across the room. A discarded tie. Was this some kind of taunt? It was becoming clear to Theo that the large boxes wouldn't just wait for him to cross, so he quickened his pace towards the infuriating clue.
就是你一定要走对，你才可以过。
Clearly, the killer had left this tie to send a message, but in doing so, they had left a trail for Theo to follow. Perhaps he'd get the better of them yet. Though he was intrigued by the surprisingly expressive train waiting before him, on the other side of the tracks, a curious hole in the wall drew his eye. Perhaps the killer had made their own exit.
先上来，这个可以点。机器人的卡车，
Stepping onto the train, Theo glanced towards his goal and noticed a strangely carefree-looking robot bumbling around near a control panel. Hopefully this one isn't a threat. The train began to quake, and Theo couldn't react fast enough to leap off. He had better find something to hold on to.
哇，这样子就没了，这样就没了，这样就没办法逃出去了。
Theo was quite unprepared for the sudden velocity and found his current predicament extremely upsetting. Luckily, he just needed to hold on until the train looped back to the station.
这个留着。哦，等一下，等一下，怎么过去？
Rocketed past him, Theo pressed himself against the train and vowed to dedicate the rest of the ride to keeping his eyes open for low-flying objects of feline destruction.
看起来是可以的，只是有一些动的步数啊，还是会挡到。 我卡关了。那不然我看一下这边小走一步呢，先小走一步，我等他过，我再用这个。
Theo might have found some comfort knowing he wasn't the only one caught unaware by the sudden departure, but it was all he could do to just keep his paws on the ground.
好烦躁的声音。这根本就是已经套好的路线了，只是再去找它正确的点。刚好没有被碾到，就是套好的路线。
The burning robot distract him from his efforts to survive. In the distance, Theo could just about spot the station, approaching at a rapid pace.
他这个好猛哦！他这个刚好就算的刚好，他这个就算的刚刚好，就是你不会多一张或少一张，就是刚好用完。过了，过了。 他都算得刚刚好。哎，那我这样不是绕一圈好了
driven by his newfound appreciation for solid ground and the terrible fear that it might suddenly set off again. Just ahead of him, he could see that bloody robot that had sent the train off in the first place.
他被那个机器人阴到了，看一下有没有可以点的东西，应该没有。
As he followed the irritating machine through the jagged opening in the wall, Theo hoped that he wouldn't ever have to lay eyes on it again.
看起来是益智游戏这样，但事实上他都算好了。
Theo eyed his new surroundings curiously, noting the piles of unused tiles and pipes. Across what little floor existed, there was a sharp drop, from which a blinding light and tremendous heat emanated. Besides this abyss sat... that bloody robot.
这是钢筋吧？
Theo focused on the path ahead, choosing to politely ignore the annoyance in the room. A shifting wall of energy was barring his progress, perhaps turning off that strange machine would help.
我没有开关
With the barrier successfully disabled, Theo was happy to move on and leave that
我要
robotic
开关才能
liability
过这个啊
behind. Surely the killer couldn't be too far now.
4/2了耶，差不多了。
Entering another area with limited flooring, Theo wondered why all
这是什么？
of
这
these
是挡
rooms
子
seemed
弹吗？
so unfinished. Maybe the... It was starting to look like Theo might have a tail.
啊，他要来当那个垫脚石啊，他要当垫脚石。
Oh, apparently Theo's new friend had some value after all.
然后还要再开着。
As the oblivious robot scampered over an obvious switch, Theo braced for the consequences. When none presented themselves, he
如果这个
decided
可以
to stay
设
on
计关
alert.
卡让大家玩的
There
话，
was
应该
no
蛮
way
猛。
he was safe while that machine was bumping into things. Contemplating the state of the room ahead, Theo reluctantly accepted that perhaps the robot's help might be
我
necessary.
要配合那个机器人，对不对？这个
As he threw a disparaging glance at the machine,
等一下，我看一下哦。
as a loud noise reverberated behind Theo, he wondered just what he had done to be cursed with a trundling mishap. Though his companion seemed to be some
还要
kind
关
of
哦，还要
cosmic
关掉才可以过。
magnet, Theo had to admit, Daz was endearing, aggravatingly so.
看起来不错哦。
Overwhelmed by the heat pouring from the broken machine, Theo mourned the obvious failings of engineering safety standards. How on earth was he going to reach the elevators beyond this mess?
再走一步，机器人来了。我会不会被他载走？不行耶，他知道我上去，他就不会动。我往右转，那这样子他就不会动。等一下，我想一下要怎么往这边。
Theo flinched when he heard the now familiar
他要压
sound
住
of
了，
Daz activating another switch.
他要
He
踩住才。
cautiously opened his eyes and was pleasantly surprised to see something positive had finally come from this robot's help. As Daz hurried into the elevator, Theo found himself growing slightly less aggrieved. Perhaps having the little fellow around might even be useful.
他要过来了吗？这机器人是要跟我一起坐电梯，对不对？
As the elevator rattled to a screeching halt, Theo found himself suspended on what could kindly be referred to as a rough and ready bridge, or not so kindly as an invitation to a long plummet to certain death. Theo watched as Daz leapt gracefully down onto the scaffold to aid in his journey across. Considering the barrier ahead of him, Theo wondered if Daz could assist him once more, with the right guidance, of course.
等一下，这要怎么？我这样步数不够，所以我走错了。先小走一步就好了。我一开始走错了，可是不可能，我一开始只能走这一个啊。然后往前走，然后开这个。
Theo found he quite enjoyed the company of the small robot. When he wasn't actively annoying him,
机器
the
人可以从旁
unlikely
边爬
companions
上。
set off into the cave, ignoring the tribal warnings decorating the entrance. They were probably just for show anyway. The large chamber was filled with the clanks faced with a seemingly impassable
设计图
split in the floor, Theo stopped to think of a way around.
这个机器人怎么过？
Wait, did he just disregarding the danger? Daz bravely leapt into the chasm to aid his feline companion. Surely he'd be fine.
这已经是最近的镜头了。
Oh no!
机器人掉下去了，被烧了，救了小猫猫一命。5之1了。
Stunned by the loss of poor Daz, Theo slowly padded onwards, barely noticing the more polished and functional walls around him.
这是什么？这看起来像碎玻璃。捏的还蛮像的，先往这边弯，然后再往这边弯，然后再往看一下，往前走2个。
The only way to proceed seemed to be through a strange airlock. As he stepped inside and felt his hair begin to rise, he wondered if something was amiss.
我被电了。What the hell? What the hell? 小猫咪被电死了。
Well, thoroughly perplexed, Theo could only hope he wouldn't spontaneously burst into a cloud of electrons in the near future.
目前看起来只有这一条路可以走啊，所以一定会被电。
Despite the lingering crackles of energy in his fur, Theo found himself occupied with a rather spectacular plume of fire between himself and his goal. With nothing to hand to bar the flames and unwilling to risk singeing his whiskers, Theo was unsure of how to proceed.
这干嘛？这干
There
嘛？
must be something he could do.
哎，所以没有用，所以不是这样走。看一下。
Amazing! It appeared that the mishap Theo had experienced had changed him in some fascinating
小
ways.
猫猫会用超能力。
Before another jet of flame could spring up, Theo slipped deeper into the labs. Hopefully the worst was over, but if not, these newfound powers could prove quite helpful.
猫咪使用超能力去挡。
Upon entering, Theo noticed there was a bridge leading straight to the door he needed. A definite positive. However, a large section had decided on a career change and was currently enjoying its new life as debris below.
好哦，来看一下，他现在知道干嘛？这一样用超能力。
Laughing in the face of those without strange abilities, Theo casually willed a path into existence.
可是这样够吗？够
Theo。quickly sauntered across his creation, hoping that physics wouldn't try to reassert itself at an inopportune moment.
没有东西可以按吗？没有。这一关没有东西，任何东西都不能。
Once again, Theo entered a laboratory which would have been quite easy to cross, if not for the disorganized heap of crates cluttering the corridor. It was always something. These delays were rapidly becoming infuriating.
不能嘞，为什么？等一下，等一下，这样没错，然后再这样，然后按这个，它的那个步数是固定的。
Yes! Finally! Theo rushed through the doors.
这小猫是密室脱逃，就对了。小猫猫的卡牌密室脱逃。
No! No, no, no! What happened here?
有人死了。
Christ! They can't all be ruined, can they? I built this equipment! I implemented failsafes. Surely some of them must have made it!
Oh
God, no! It's all gone! What am I going to do? I can't stay trapped like this forever! There's no way I'll be able to start again with things in this state! And it's not like you'd be able to help! You probably don't even understand what's happening right now! Oh
这个好
God!
激动。
Lauren!
Enter.
Oh, well! Whoever did all this to me was bloody thorough! Just look, Theo! All of my work, every scrap of progress, reduced to bent metal and shattered glass!
这边有一个可以点的，可是哦，有这个黑板。哇，只能走一格。
Clearly, whoever did all of this had some training. I bet it was MI5. Or maybe those umbrella-swinging secret society ponces. It's just their style to break into someone's home and trash everything in the name of Queen and Country. The bastards! Christ! This hardware's supposed to be hard to damage. Well, lesson learned. Don't buy from the bloody Bratva. Strong Russians steal my ass, Koskov.
走错了，走错了。
Ah! All my work, my genius, and this is how it ends. I can't even do anything.
哇，他
I
都
just
算得
along
刚
for
好
the
了。
ride on the Theo Express. At least our chances of escaping here alive are minimal at best.
他的那
So
个
I won't
卡
have
牌
to
的张数
suffer
都是刚
this
好。
joke of an existence for too damn long. Oh, I don't know, Theo. Maybe there's still a chance. We could escape this place and start from the ground up. Even with pause, we could try.
有2个可以按。
valuable samples on the bodies back at home. Maybe we could still save her.
我是要从那边绕一圈过去吗？不然这个推不动。哦，等一下，等一下，先往前，往右。
But it would take years starting from nothing. Even if we did manage to collect viable samples, we'd have no way of storing them for that long.
哦，原来如此。
And I never found the chance to make a backup of her mind.
它的箭头是输送带会移动的方向。等一下，等一下，好像放错地方，应该放这一个。
I just can't believe she's gone. At least Joshua didn't get caught up in all of this. Who am I kidding? I'm not even me. I'm just a copy of Nathaniel's bloody mind squeezed into a brain the size of a tangerine. No offense, Theo. Honestly, it's amazing that we're both still alive in here at all.
有好多机器人在打架。
I've been hiding out in youth for months without a body of my own. And when I saw him lying there dead in the house, I thought maybe I'd have my chance.
等一下，我想一下，我要怎么样会比较好？ 上页。
Do you know what's really strange, Theo? The thing I miss most about having a body, more than anything else, is being able to wiggle my toes. It's bizarre. You'd expect something more grandiose, but it all comes down to the little things in the end. I would literally kill to feel a foot cramp again.
它这个都是套路，已经算好了。
Christ, watch out for those lasers, will you, Theo? Just remember, anything that happens to you happens to me.
啊，什么？原来这个会移动啊 ！What the hell?
So this is all I am now? Just a disembodied voice in a cat. Well, it could be worse, I suppose. The earliest experiments were on lesser creatures. Could you imagine scurrying around here trapped in the body of a mouse? It doesn't bear thinking about. You wouldn't still be up for chasing down the killer, would you, Theo? I'll take that as a yes. Nothing like a bit of revenge to get the blood up.
过了，再等的话就要，搞不好又有新的雷射要过来，就跑不掉了。
I must say, Theo, it is quite a relief to drop the pretense and just talk to you straight for once. I couldn't just be honest with you before, you understand? I mean, what was I supposed to say? Hello, Theo. Don't mind me, I'm just a strange voice in your head.
头断。
Now be a dear and do exactly as I say.
然后刚刚还有一个可以看，不知道哪个。这个要怎么玩呢？这个是啊，等一下，先，因为它输送带会移动嘛，所以要先上的，所以是放这，为什么是放这一个？ 放这个过来，OK。
My God! Why on earth did I make the laser units so skittish? I can't believe I managed to make them so alert and yet so inept.
要不就被烫死了。
What? That shutter should always be firmly sealed shut. Does this agent have no respect? No common decency at all? Get in there, Theo. I won't let this stand.
过了，然后到第6关了。难道要一次过吗 ？Memories。
I haven't been here in a very long time. Looks like the flora managed to thrive in my absence. But I can't say the same for the hardware. How on earth are we going to get around all that?
这红色的代表说还不能走，要我去踩那个电力板。
I've got to admit, I'm at a loss here, Theo. Most of my ideas tend to revolve around having hands. Well, that'll
因为
do
我有
it.
超能力，我可以移
You
动。
know, I find it somewhat disconcerting how well you're taking to your new psychic potential, Theo. I can't deny its usefulness, though. I'd really rather not be back in this place. But if I will stop that damnable killer from making off with any more of my property, then I guess I have no choice.
这质感好高哦。
Ooh, I remember this one. Something about self-pollinating crops. Really, who needs bees anyway? That didn't seem to be enough. Needs more power. These plants have had more than a decade to muddle up the wiring. Looks like it must have shorted out the last time someone used the door.
等一下还差一
We
个。
may have... Nicely done, Theo. We might make an electrician out of you after all. I was so young and idealistic when I made all of this.
要两边都要
It's
压
almost
到
sad to
它
see it
才
in
可以
ruins.
开门。
Almost.
它是要两边都要压到才可以开。
Ah, the old hydroponics nursery. Lord, that robot must have been keeping this room running for at least a decade. Have to respect the dedication, if nothing else.
「直冲吗？还是我看一下？
Do be careful around those panels, Theo. I don't think that robot has any safety accreditation, and you aren't exactly shockproof. Watch out for those plants, Theo. I know they either cure third-degree
这就
burns
不
or
能走，这
cause
样我就
them.
走错了。
I just can't quite remember which.
哦，哦，原来是这样。它压在这上面的时候啊，通电我就不能走。你看看有没有什么东西可以动拉动？好像没有，而且我还不能挡住这个东西。这样我一定会被电死啊！等一下哦，等一下，是不是前面动错步啦？先过来这边。我就知道一定是动错步。 可是这样还是会死，所以要过来个。可是我这样压下去的话，我要怎么倒退？先往上，然后再往转弯。这怎么拿掉啊？这个这样子等于已经将军了所以先不要放那个，先过来。这样子。等一下，我现在还多动了一个动作步，先过来这边，然后它会下来嘛。然后这个时候我再放这一个。然后再转弯。
I was so excited just to be working back then, doing just what Lauren and I had always dreamed of. So naive.
这块可能要想很久，我猜啦。这里是终点。
The easy way is out again. That vent over there might be an option though.
这边有一个。每一个关卡都藏3个可以找的、可以点的。还有一个不见了。
Lauren would have loved this place back in its heyday. I'm glad I kept her in the dark though, considering how things turned out. Ah! Certainly an inventive use of your powers. Maybe.
哦，有3个，这一关有3个隐藏的要抓到。
Just try to keep the acceleration within survivable limits, will you? Despite my growing disdain for vents, being a cat sure does give you a unique perspective on things. All this plant life makes it almost pleasant in here.
然后这边一个这个，我只能走一小步就要那个，不行耶，这边不管我怎么走，我都会被压到。
You know, this is where it all started for me, Theo. Not the ventilation system, obviously, but the laboratory as a whole. I was trying to solve world hunger. Ha! Can you imagine?
拉不过去，这怎么过去啊？这我已经没有可以往右转的手段了。这场输了，这场要重来。
Despite my growing disdain for vents, being a cat sure does give you a unique perspective on things.
先把那个
plant life makes it almost pleasant in here.
挡一下。我先往这边走。然后再过来这边，那这样的话，我还是没有右转的。一开始拉错了。
You know, this is where it all started for me, Theo. Not the ventilation system, obviously, but the laboratory as a whole. I was trying to solve world hunger.
这个，然后
Can you imagine?
这个了，这个就对了。什么？居然是这样子？那我这样子不是输了吗？我这样不是要被他撞吗？没有，差一点。他只能往旁边，不能往前。完了。
A word of advice, Theo. If the government offers to fund your research, it probably isn't worth it. They always take more than they give. Unlikely to be relevant to you, but worth keeping in mind.
后面真的有变比较难哦，有烧脑。
Christ, this place is completely flooded. I suppose you won't want to sit a paw in that. We'd best find a drier route. I don't like the way that robot is acting at all. It's just glaring at us. Good thing it can't get over here, then.
这个有3个隐藏的可以点，可是不知道是哪一个。我先上去一格。
Oh, this trick again. Ah! Now why would you do that?
啊，我走错了，所以他就会。
Oh, bugger. Think the door needs powering.
这样子没有路诶，这样子刚好被挡住。先这样子吧。 然后先把它拉过去。
Ha! That was quite crafty of you, Theo. Well, let's get out of here.
这样就有，这样就可以离开了。
More flooding. Looks like this exit's jammed up tight too. Let's try slipping through the ventilation again.
它这个是可以，可以到底。这块有2个隐藏的可以点。
Theo, it would appear that there's another robot over there, and this one might actually be able to catch us. I'm not sure you'll be able to outrun it. Oh Lord, it's going to be very close!
哦，它刚好就是要跟你。
Ha! Excellent, Theo! That should buy us some time at least.
比速度一定小猫会赢啊！小猫还会超能力耶。
That was a little bit too close for comfort there, Theo. If we could avoid situations like that from now on, I'd really appreciate it. 这是只能直线吗？哇的发 ，What the hell？ What on earth are they doing? You know what? I'm getting to the point where seeing my own robots destroying what I've made is old hat. Even though I hate a lot of things about this place, there was a time when I had to fight to keep it alive. The money men were demanding results, and Joshua was on the way. Seeing the rusted ruin it's become is unpleasant.
还有一个东西不见了，不知道在哪里。还有，有了。过了。它有点需要抑制。
Well, the years have not been kind to this place. To think, back when this was a lab, I used to spend most of my time sitting in the middle of that hole in the floor.
下面有一个可以点。
This is where I made a major breakthrough. Not with world hunger, though. I realized I could weaponize some of my research. You can bet the people signing my checks were far more interested in that.
下面坏掉了，可是没有办法过去。
That is where Brightpaw began. At the time, of course, it was just a necessary evil, a way to continue my work. A small slip that would be forgiven once I'd solved all the other problems in the world.
所以第二个是要挡他就对了。他这个都算得太刚好了，我觉得。那这样的话就
Somehow I doubt the elevator is still in
这是
service.
出牌顺序的问题。
Up for another jaunt through the vents, Theo?
好，6只死了，差不多了。
The irony is, I actually figured it out. World hunger, I mean. I was going to change the world, make a real difference to mankind. Best of all, I'd finally be able to share my work with my family. Then those bastard pen pushers dismissed me without a second thought.
等一下，我想一下，这个要怎么过啊？这个它不能前后拉，而且它这个又看一下有什么地方可以拿。哦，原来等它过了。
It wasn't perfect, but it would have worked. I solved scarcity and they didn't even try. Then I...
啊什么？我被电了？什么？他这样子一次2格吗？
It wasn't perfect, but it would have worked. I solved scarcity and they didn't even try. Then I realized if they didn't care, why should I? It's all just history. All that matters now is catching the bugger responsible for all of this.
出牌顺序的问题。第7关了，好了吧？他这好多关哦，还不错啊。哎，外面下雪。
How is this place still so tidy?
什么？它会瞬移？浪费，它会瞬移哦。小猫帮会用瞬移。
This fellow met his end in a very inconvenient place. I don't suppose you've got any other tricks up your sleeve? How did you even begin to try that?
这小猫猫的内心
You
话
know,
很多
the。most disquieting thing about this entire situation is that despite all of my research and decades of questionable scientific investigation, I've never seen anything
我还有留
quite
2
like
张
your
牌。
powers. Ah, this is more like it. They must have been trying to keep up appearances by sweeping all the mess back here. Seems like we're pretty hemmed in here, though, Theo.
它只能跳1格而已，哎， 就是它瞬移只能一次而已。瞬移之力。
Well, scratch that. Folding space-time certainly makes navigating this junk easier. I can't believe I actually Oh, I forgot about these. They were toys for Joshua. I was going to give them to him when I finally introduced him and Lauren to my work. Just goes to show how old all this is. He's a man in his own right now. God, the robots around here have been working away, keeping this place clean as long as he's been alive.
台数都算得刚好。Toys，
Well, despite a decade or two without proper maintenance, the reactor seems to be doing well. I was concerned it might be choked with junk, but it seems it won't explode anytime soon. Oh, don't worry about all the lightning. It's supposed to look like that. Just don't get too close, and you'll be fine. Another bloody robot! Run for it, Theo! Huh. It appears your teleport trick stopped it dead in its tracks. Well, as nice as that is, there's no guarantee it will last.
怎么一脸问
Let's
号？
not stick around to test the theory.
不是已经过了吗？瞬移之力。这个关卡还蛮多的哦。
How on earth have they kept this place so clean when they keep doing things like this?
这可以按。
Powers prevented the last robot from chasing us. I wonder what it would do to one of these. 还有一个可以按的，不知道是藏在哪边。
哦，是外面这个玻璃。应该是摆在这上面
How
吧。
wise of you, Theo. Looking before you leap. Oh, thank God. I was sure it was just going to explode. But it should be safe to keep doing this. Probably.
哦，卡关了，卡关了。哎，等一下，等一下。如果我把它挡住，哎，那这样的话有没有可能？不行，它只能一格。我说，如果说刚好把这个挡住，又可以瞬移上去的话，不就超进入了？然后其实这一格不用动。然后瞬移嘛，对不对？我要怎么样才可以？用完了，步数用完了，然后还没转弯，然后就没了。这个。
Why would they bother to expose the wiring like this? It's obvious they aren't doing anything with it. You would think... No!
你就要重来一次。哦，这关开始就是要比较难了。
How on earth have they kept this place so clean when they keep doing things like this?
要怎么？只有这个可以选，然后第二个就要瞬移。
How wise of you, Theo. Looking before you leap. thank God. I was sure it was just going to explode. But it should be safe to keep doing this. Probably. Why would they bother to expose the wiring like this? It's obvious they aren't doing anything with it. You would think I don't... That was a little bit too close for comfort.
他这会休息一段时间，要趁他休息的时候，趁他休息的时候赶快过去，这样。
Oh, that robot is a lot closer to us than I'd like. But this time we can do something about it.
这边有2个隐藏的，拿到。
Ha ha! Take that! This new ability of yours is proving very useful, don't you think? Now, we just need to traverse that gap. Okay, Theo. I don't want you getting a big head.
我还留一步
That was good thinking.
还留一步就过。其实他是算的刚好，就是最刚好。
This place seems relatively calm, if not a little dark for my tastes.
为什么啊？因为会有雷射，应该可能是因为会有雷射的关系。
Oh no no no!
等一下，哦，是3个雷射，不是1个。
Just lovely. I doubt we can stun them all. We may have to come up with a different strategy.
右边也有。
Well done, Theo. That should give us a little breathing room.
这怎么玩啊？这个？哎！这边有一个。挡好。好，过了。看起来整个就是烧脑的。
This was going to be a place to relax and sit back with a book. Me and Lauren were going to be able to work together, and Joshua would have had an amazing place to grow up. Looks more like a construction site now. Theo, I know you're feeling a little more capable against these robots, but perhaps putting ourselves directly in harm's way was not the best course of action. Well, if you're sure about this.
我没有办法走到这一格，然后就直接瞬移过关。我一定要。
I see. Thinking a few steps ahead, are we? Haha! I have to say I'm impressed, Theo. That was a downright artistic bait and switch. I never thought I'd be celebrating someone flouting my security. But here we are.
哦，那这样子，先往这边走，往里。
I had this image in my head. Little Joshua running around, playing with the hollow hedges, enjoying himself like only a child really can. It's a shame he never got to experience this place, but it turned out well regardless.
有了，过了。
It may shock you.
这又是要移动吗？好像没有要移动。看起来像拳击场，还有一个鹰场。还有一个找不到在哪里，那只好先走。
Watch your step, Theo. Unexplained psychic powers won't prevent you tripping and bumping your head. I think it was when I was building this that I realized it would never work out. Lauren would have questioned where the funds came from, and she would have never accepted the truth. She had a very firm outlook on morality, you see.
那这样子第3个没有找到，就结束了。
I would usually advise we find another route, but you seem to have developed a knack for problem solving by defying the laws of physics.
这边有2个，没办法，所以他要过来拦截我了吗？
Ha! Now that's thinking outside the box, Theo. My God, it's a total disaster area. What happened in here?
等一下哦。他会拦截我，他会选择我走的那个路线拦截。
You're getting awfully good at juking those. Even you'll have issues leaping through all this rubble, Theo. Let's find another path before that chaser wakes up.
惨了，我刚刚浪费了那个唯一的瞬移只能用2次。过来转这边，停住，然后就被他卡死了。哦，他就是要来撞我的啦。我看一下哦。啊，不行，只能放到这一格。好鸟，它那个不能选择你要放哪一格吗？瞬间移到它后面，它是没有办法马上反应，但是我也不能动。 这完全就是卡位我嘛。为什么这样他就发现得了？然后刚刚直接顺到他后面，他就发现不了。他就这样直接过来，超方便的。然后我不行，我不能这样直接过去。这样子对了吧？错了，这样子我还是过不去。可以，刚刚就是要这样走的，不是吗？只是我的方向没有转到。这边起码还空了2个卡关。这样他就看不出来我在哪里。可是我会被那个挡住，我会被我自己放出来的方块挡住。我是不是要这样子？那两边都没有那个。哦，这关真的有点难。到这边过来是没有问题。不行了，这边一定会被死，这边一定会被抓，一定会被拦截。你要用这个吗？ 啊，等一下，等，用都错。来追杀我！他来追杀我了。
Oh no, we're trapped. I hope you remember how to repeat your latest trick.
过了，终于过了，好难哦，这关开始需要烧脑。
It's distressing to see the garden like this. I was hoping it might have escaped the decline that befell the labs.
这关有3个可以按的。这种游戏啊，后面都是主角任务。
to build a nice gazebo just over there, a serene place to just relax and take in the ambience.
不能浪费。
So many plans.
这游戏是瞬移，不能浪费。这个游戏，这个是连一个摄影都没有办法了。哎，有2个，找一下，我可能在附近哦。我浪费了1个嘛？有没有什么方法，就是不要浪费瞬移？ 它这好像还是会浪费到瞬移。
I stumbled upon this cave while I was building, and I thought it would make a lovely space for the family. Plenty of room for Joshua to play, and some nice plants for Lauren and I. Is that a bloody crashed helicopter? What? That's a Fennec chopper! MI5 standard! Those bastards have been after me for years! Is this how the killer got past all my security? Ha! Good thing they went down trying to land in here. There might be something useful in the wreckage. Theo, we've got to go and take a look.
这掉下去，他是故意的，是故意掉下去的。Ace 8 Active 8黑暗洞窟。
Theo, come on, get up, Theo! Oh, thank God! For a second there, I thought I was going to be stuck in a dead cat.
哇，这个做了80几关呢。
Theo, are you in there? How many fingers am I holding up? Wait. Bugger. Theo, come on, get up, Theo! Oh, thank God!
我一开始就要先瞬移。
I think we've ended up in the.
哎，那这样子不够啊。
Hold on, that's an MI5 agent. Or the bones of one, anyway. Did he fall from the helicopter
等一
and
下，
die
回
down
去
here?
回去上页。
Must have been some time ago if he's in this state. But if he's been rotting down here, he couldn't possibly be the killer. Let's get out of here, Theo. Perhaps there's more to find downstream.
有了有了。
This is all junk from Brightpaw. How long have those damn robots been flushing everything? Christ, and I thought I was in control of things.
啊，这个真的是还不错啊，但是就是烧脑，整个玩起来是还不错。先跳回主画面吧。小猫走线的游戏，先到这边了。真的是太脑筋急转弯，真的。如果那个小猫自己可以旋转就更好了，但是好像没办法。